Hello, everybody. Welcome to SportsSkope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 13th day, not Friday the 13th, Thursday the 13th, thank God, uh, day of January on this great episode of SportsSkope I have in mind for you all today. Going to get into the NFL playoffs. I mean, I'm so excited about the playoffs every year. Looks like weather's not really going to be an issue. I know that Buffalo's going to be really cold, but it's January in Buffalo. What do you expect? Not a lot of wind though, not a lot of rain or anything, but there may be thunderstorms in Tampa, for what I understand. San Francisco, Dallas. Nobody's really talking about this. Got a really interesting stat for you all from you all that are 35 and up, big time football fans of the 90s. I know Jim Jeffcoat would know this, who played for the Dallas Cowboys, a guy I do a program with on Saturday on Mac and Jack's show. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But first, there was another firing in the NFL. David Culley, first-year head coach from Houston, was fired. The head coach was let go after 1 year. I want to say there were 4-13, and I just really can't believe this firing. You strip down the roster. Your best defensive player was traded at request. Your franchise quarterback does not want to be a part of it because the team seems to want to go towards the New England organization to hire management people, coaches, former coaches, and whatnot. And Deshaun Watson says something about that publicly. And long story short, he wanted to be traded. Then on top of all that, he's being sued for sexual assault and everything of that nature. So I'm looking at what is the reason behind this? And Tom Persario from NFL, and of course, Rappaport and everybody else, they're all talking about this. Palesrio, from the NFL, he says the Texans owe this guy, David Culley, $17 million over the next 3 years. He walks away with roughly $22 million. And going a little farther back with the Texans, Bob McNair, the father there, this is going back about 5 years, I want to say, before he died. Mr. McNair made some comments about the inmates run the asylum, about the national anthem protest, and a lot of owners didn't kneeling for the flag. They had a lot of issue with that. He let something get out publicly. The media jumped all over it, tried to accuse him of some racial undertones and all that. So you look at all that. You look at Bill O'Brien. After he dies, and the son, Cal McNair, just gives everything to Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien got this team to the playoffs multiple times, and that was a former coach and then general manager for the last 2 years prior to this past year. And the guy, and I've said this a million times, it never works. I mean, I think it worked one time, but it cost Jimmy Johnson his marriage and eventually had a blow up with the owner, with the Cowboys, and then he left. But it never works to make the head coach, the general manager, and the head coach. It's too much on his plate. It blew up. This roster blew up all the Hades. So the Bill O'Brien thing just totally blew off the hinges, and they fired him in the middle of the season. They didn't even wait to the end of the season. Cal McNair did, I guess, the owner. And so he's looking at this, the son, and he is saying, okay, all this stuff from my dad did, all this stuff about Bill O'Brien, his blow-ups, one of his blow-ups he's kind of a hothead guy. One of the players is holding back from cursing out a fan, he's saying, you know what? I think we should go get a guy, 64-year-old black guy, who's an assistant, never been a coordinator, never been even interviewed for a head coaching job, but he's really well liked and he's black, and that's going to make us look good public relations wise this year. I think this is what Cal McNair, the son of Bob McNair, who died, the owner of the Houston, I think that was his school of thought. So he goes to and gets this assistant coach there, well-liked, very popular guy, and they hire him, and he knew that the critics wouldn't say too much about it because he is black and he's very popular around the league, been around the league 30 plus years, David Culley. So David Culley, he's thinking, man, I've never been a coordinator. You offer me $22 million. Of course, I mean, I don't blame you. I take that too. But the thing about it is what looks so bad, you give this guy this totally stripped down roster like I just talked about at the beginning of the program with no quarterback, and he puts together a decent staff. He brought in Lovie Smith, former head coach of the Bears, a great defensive mind to run his defense. They're cutting players left and right. He's getting his he's getting his imprint on the team this year. The guy they brought in as a starter, their stopgap guy, Tyrod Taylor, totally didn't work out. But you had this third-round pick, Davis Mills. There's a real bright spot for this team. They upset a playoff caliber team, and they beat Tennessee, and they almost beat us again. Tennessee here, I'm out of Nashville. Almost beat Tennessee twice. Quite frankly, they beat the Chargers, very tough team, played hard, and then they fired him. So it really looks like the whole thing was just a public relations thing. And, of course, it gives these Twitter people, these wokesters, I want to call them, who all want to outdo each other, and virtue signalers, more ammo, which rightfully so, in their defense. Your Adam Schefter's of the world saying, well, now there's only one black coach in the NFL because they keep up with this stuff, you know? Not to mention that Ron Rivera is Hispanic. No, but it's got to be black. And then the next tweet, he says, Adam Schefter, ESPN, actually, it's just before he said that. Jared Mayo, who is the front runner to replace him. Now, let me rewind. Nick Caserio is the new general manager. He's been he's general manager last year. He's from the Patriots. Jared Mayo is a former Patriot linebacker. He's been in the coaching staff there for a few years now. He's 35, very young. You know, this whole thing with this youth thing with the NFL now. And I will say this about Jared Mayo as a side note. Mayo has been in talks of really learning the coaching game very quickly, getting a lot of buzz around the league over the last 2-3 years. Kind of reminds me of the coach here at Nashville, Mike Vrabel, been talked about for a few years. Former Patriot player. He had became an assistant with Houston, linebacker coach, then defensive coordinator, kind of fast track to the head coach. Now the guy's looking at being defensive coach of the year, or defensive coach of the year, excuse me. And this team has already been to as a head coach, AFC Championship game. They won the division last year. They won the division this year. They have the number 1 overall seed this year with a record amount of player turnover, injuries, and whatnot. Still got the number 1 seed in the AFC. And also on top of all that, they have 8 wins against teams above 500, 7 against playoff teams. Just really impressive. So Jared Mayo, the front runner, leading candidate, linebackers coach for the Patriots, he's being kind of talked about in the circles of a Mike Vrabel. So it kind of defeats the wokesters. But on the other hand, it does, in my opinion, it looks like the whole David Culley was a PR stunt. Now, he's got $17 million golden parachute. David don't care. 65 years old now. Probably going to still coach in the league around somewhere else. Wide receiver, special teams, something of that nature. And all's well as ends well. But that's another coach. I'm saying we're up to 8 coaches in the NFL right now, vacancies. And my guess is they'll probably go young. They'll probably go super, super young. And I'm surprised they would go defensive with Jared Mayo. But this is a relationships league. Casario knows Jared Mayo from the Patriots organization. I get it. But this is what you get when you get a new owner, which is like the owner's son's only been running the show there for a few years now. There's going to be a lot of lessons to be learned. Kind of like the Mayer family with the Giants. They said we moved too fast. We didn't, and I could have told them that as an outsider. Yeah, you moved too fast when you hired Joe Judge. Dave Gettleman made one big blunder after another. And then you're letting him hire these 2 awful coaching hires. As far as going back, not to get too far off on that, but Gettleman, he drafts a running back with the 2nd pick overall. That's strike one when you needed a quarterback. He signs an extension to Odell Beckham, then trades him. You still got dead money there. He hires Joe Judge, a guy that nobody's ever hired, another guy that's never been a head coach before, not even a coordinator. He was a special teams coach. And he drafted Daniel Jones. Strike 1, 2, 3, 4. And you know, it kind of seems similar situation here in Houston. And now, you know, I don't blame Deshaun Watson for wanting to get out of there. But, hey, that's why a lot of these teams stay down, guys. I mean, they just knee-jerk. An idiot with a plan is better off than a genius without one. And that's what Boone Pickens said. He's a guy that Oklahoma State named their football stadium after. Billionaire. Really interesting guy. Sent me that and wrote him a letter. He's got a book called, guy's dead now. Guys has a book called The First Billion is the Toughest to Make. Sorry about that there, Pickles. I had my scroller on there. Thought they had a chance to make it. Davis Mills, problems start at the top. Yep, that's right. And it's usually from these from these young these owner and you know the thing about Denver, people talk about Denver. Denver's supposedly going to get a new ownership next year, and why would a really good coach want to go there? Because the owner's going to want to get his own coach. He's going to get his own general manager. He'll probably do away with this George Patton guy. I don't know if I'm a good candidate. If I'm a hot commodity, I don't take that Denver job. I really don't know if I do that. It may mess up their trade. Getting Aaron Rodgers or somebody like that. I don't know if I want to go with Denver when they're changing ownership like that. Wait till the ownership gets in, see what the ownership is like first, right? So anyways, so we've got some really good games coming on this weekend. Again, guys, I think the only one that's going to be a weather situation that I've looked at is going to be Tampa and Philadelphia. Now, it's Wednesday night. That game is Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern, but they're talking thunderstorms all throughout the afternoon in that particular game. But other than that, I think everything's going to be good weather-wise, but we got some really good games. I wanted to talk about this game, Dallas and San Francisco. I thought that they played 1 or 2 times in the NFC Championship game. I was wrong. Dallas and San Francisco in the 90s, between 1992 and 1995, 4 years. 1995, these two teams played for the NFC Championship game. 92, 93, 94, 95, 4 consecutive years. That's really tough. Think about it. The NFL, with the injuries and the competition, 4 consecutive years, the same two teams played in the NFC Championship. Not the wild card, not the divisional round, the NFC Championship game. Like I was talking about before, Steve Young, Troy Aikman, Charles Haley played on both teams. Deion Sanders played on both teams. Ricky Watters, Emmitt Smith, Daryl Moose Johnson, Ken Norton Jr., the son of Ken Norton. Really good dog fights of games, close games. Now Dallas end up getting the best of them. Now 94, really good. The one year that Barry Switzer, very first year he took over, 49ers win that game. They go on. Steve Young has one of the best Super Bowls in Super Bowl history, by the way. And I've always resented that 49er team getting rid of Montana when I was a kid. And they destroyed the Chargers that year. Pickles in the Super Bowl was like 55-10. I don't think that Steve Young had an incompletion that I saw. Maybe I went to the restroom, got tired of it. I was about 14 there. Did not 13 turn to 14. Did not have an incompletion in that particular. But the other ones, those are the Super Bowls. Those are really close games there. If you think about it, when Dallas won their games, they would play Buffalo. Well, one Buffalo game was a complete blowout. And again, I mentioned the one time that the 49ers won, the Chargers blew out, the 49ers blew out the Chargers. So that Super Bowl was awful. And the other Buffalo-Dallas was okay. It's like a 10-point game. And then in Dallas, the last one, Dallas and Pittsburgh, that was a real close game between Neil O'Donnell and the Barry Switzer Cowboys. That second year, he did win the Super Bowl with the Cowboys there. That was the last time that they made the Super Bowl. So they're playing, and I want to say, Pickles, that they were a 3.5-point favorite Monday. Now today's Thursday, and I'm looking at this. I noticed the only thing I see on the injury report as far as Dallas, Michael Gallup's on the IR. They're going to get Michael Parsons back. He was on the COVID list and everything. And, I'm looking at Dallas's resume. By the way, Pro Football Focus, the Cowboys have the number 1 offensive line in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus, throughout this season. We're starting playoffs this weekend. Cowboys got the number 1 offensive line, according to Pro Football Focus. Now, the thing is, the 49ers, they're 7th against the run. They're 3rd in total defense. So they've got it together. They've had some really bad runs. D'Amico Ryan's really good player. A little bit of a learning curve for him. Defense looked way out of place at times early in the season for the 49ers. And then they've kind of gotten it together. They're not perfect right now. But they're playing really well. I mean, Garoppolo, I give him credit. He makes some big throws in that Rams game, coming back 17-0. And but going back to Dallas. So Dallas, their 2 biggest wins were against at New England. You got to give them credit there. Mac Jones was still getting the feel for things. And at LA Chargers. But everybody else, they lost to Arizona. They lost to the Raiders. They lost to Denver at home. The Raiders at home on a short week. And then everybody else they beat up on was the NFC East. So they really don't have a great resume. Now, you say, well, what is the San Francisco's? The San Francisco's got a pretty good resume. Yes, they've got dogged by Arizona twice. But you know what? They did go and beat Cincinnati, who's in the playoffs this weekend, in Cincinnati. They beat the Rams. They swept the Rams. They came back. This last one was 17-0. They're in the playoffs. They pushed Tennessee to one score. Tennessee's got the number one seed. Should have beat Green Bay early in the season. Green Bay has a number one seed. So the 49ers, they've got a lot to stand on right now. They really do. Now, I'll say this. As far as this particular game, this is what I say about Dallas. For Dallas to win this game, again, they have to stay patient with the running game. When they don't attempt to run the football, you get a couple of 3 and outs early, and it's okay. Keelan Moore, their offensive coordinator, is also being mentioned for head coaching jobs. Wants to pass, and that is not a strength for this team. And Dak, you've got to get Pollard, Elliott, but not as much as Elliott, but Pollard seems like the more of the shot of the cannon type of running back there. DeMarcus Pollard, Corey Clement, I want to say, is that other running back. You have to play that short game with this team and keep them from just power driving your defensive line in the ground and going on these long drives and physically imposing their will on you. Michael Parsons doing a little back and forth saying, we bullied the bullies around here. We know they play bully ball. Well, we'll see how it is when you go against George Kittle. I like Michael Parsons. I think he'll win some of them battles. I picked him in the preseason to win Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's going to win it. Some are saying he may win the regular Defensive Player of the Year. But Dallas is a team that those 2 big wins, they did not give up on the running game. The Charger game and the New England game. They're really impressive wins there. So, but that's what they have to do. Now, defensively, sell out, stop the run, get some pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo. You've got the personnel to do it. You can't get frustrated with this team. You can't get too much in a hurry. I think that would give them the edge if they don't let the 49ers get up too much early. Now, I feel like Dallas is playing up the underdog role. A lot of people are picking the 49ers to win this game in the national media. They think that Dallas is somewhat of a fraud, and there's some truth there, I would imagine. As bad as the NFC East has been, they've really caught a lot of these teams flat-footed. I mean, think about who's in the NFC East this year. They've caught Washington injured, Philadelphia playing their backups, and then the Giants are a total mess. They fired their coach, So it's really Dallas has been beat by the Raiders at home. They got beat by the Denver Broncos at home. They got beat by Arizona, who lost 3 of their last 4 games at home. So they have all the motivation in the world. They should play this up as the underdog, even though technically they're favored. And that's what I would do. I would have Dak in the shotgun, and I would use shovel passes. I would actually run Dak a little bit. He did do some running in the Arizona game, if I'm them. And I would use their weak across the middle of the field. Tennessee showed that. The linebacker or the tight ends, use your tight ends there across the middle of the field. The Rams had some success with their tight end across the middle of the field. There, I would use him. I wouldn't do a lot of 5-step drops, long passes to CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb would get his. It would mainly be at the line of scrimmage. You want to slow Joey Bosa down. Fred Warner. These guys got some players on their team, And again, if I'm the 49ers, you use Brandon Ayuk, use Deebo Samuel, use your slot guy, in this particular game. But I'm thinking that this seems like a 27-24 San Francisco type of game. Could it go 27-24 Dallas? Yes. If it's a track meet, it's gonna favor Dallas. Big plays down the field and everything. But I think they're going to find a way to run the ball, the Niners. I know that they've got Trent Williams coming back. He didn't even play in that game. That tells you how big this last game was for the 49ers. Trent Williams didn't even play in that game. Going against Von Miller, Aaron Donald, they still got the ball off down the field. Garoppolo made some big throws. He's got something on his thumb, some kind of brace on his thumb that is accuracy. Now, if Michael Parsons gets to him early, re-aggravates that, could throw the whole thing off. So Dallas, there's a lot can lean on Dallas. But I also can see Dallas going in there and just simply not living up to their talent level. I just can't. I got a feeling that's going to be the case. Either way, I think this is going to be a great game. I think it's probably going to be the game of the week. It's going to be the closest one, in my particular opinion. And it's such a flashback, Pickles. Man, I mean, 49ers and Dallas. Man, what a matchup there. Next game, not any particular order. Let's go with, I don't know. Let's start off here. Raiders, Cincinnati. Now the Raiders in Cincinnati, they did play at Vegas, by the way. They did play at Vegas. This is kind of similar to the game that was played at Vegas. For one thing, it was Cincinnati was coming off of a bye week. I want to say this was back in October. And Joe Mixon had 2 touchdowns, 123 yards. Cincinnati, this was week 11, excuse me. Yeah, and Cincinnati wins 32-13. Joe Mixon's coming off the COVID list. Joe Burrow, neither one of those played last week. Now, Mixon, you could say, well, what if he's hurt or what if he's still got the COVID effects? He's been tweeting all week during the game last week. He's tweeting. He's also off the list as of Monday, so I think he's probably okay. I don't think it hit him that hard. Now, Joe Burrow, my concern about him having that knee injury, remember I was telling you guys that they took him out of the game the last play in the Kansas City game. Brandon Allen came in, and Allen, of course, played in the Cleveland game the very next week. Then I read Tuesday that he practiced Tuesday, fully practiced Tuesday. So I guess Joe Burrow's going to be okay. Excuse me, guys, let me change out my thing here, my podcast here. So I do think weather is going to be okay there in Cincinnati. I think Joe Mixon's probably going to have a good game. I think the Raiders are probably going to come up a little short here. I think they may. Only way I see the Raiders winning this game is Cincinnati tries to get too cute, and Burrow seeing the fact that he's in a playoff game, he's got more eyes on him. And even though you're getting big running plays with Joe Mixon, again, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, a lot of carries on the road. That was in Vegas. So at home, it's going to be colder. This is a wintertime game. You want to lean on your running game and take the game to the Raiders and keep Carr off the field. That's the only chance they got. If they do that, they play their game, convert first downs, I think this team will probably win, I don't know, 26-13, 26-10. Again, it was 32-13 in Vegas. So the only way I see the Raiders winning is they keep Burrow off the field and gets You do whatever, play the field position game, create pressure, stop the run, put your cornerbacks on islands. And quite frankly, they've played some pretty good cornerback. The only time they really got humiliated was against Kansas City. Everybody else, they played them tight. The Raiders played tight games. Remember, they beat Pittsburgh in week 1 right up there at Pittsburgh. Went on the road, beat the Colts. I got this overtime win against the Chargers on the road. So they're playing with house money. And usually teams that play with house money play well. There's no stress on this team. This interim coach, Rick Bicciata, and may get an interview for the head coaching job. So I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't, because this is a veteran coach and a veteran quarterback. This guy's 61 years old. Of course, we know Derek Carr is a veteran in this league, but the much better team right now is definitely Cincinnati. And a lot of those players were rested last week. You would really have to find a way to screw this up if for Cincinnati not to lose this game. I think they're going to win comfortably. Quite frankly, just lean on your running game and not your own understanding. And Cincinnati's 5.5-point favorites for a reason, But so I really do think I think Cincinnati plays well, and they end up moving on to the next round. Okay, Buffalo Bills at home. Got an interesting little soundbite. Now, this is going to be in the single digits. That's been some talk about that. Josh Allen statistics in games when it's this cold are not really good. But it's not going to be a win situation. This was on Get Up, and I'm playing a soundbite here in a minute. Freezing game time temperatures. Josh Allen's 3-2. He's 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and his completion percentage is down to 50%. And Bart Scott, former Raven, New York Jet, who's played in a lot of really cold games. He played in the for the Jets team that went up there and beat New England. Pretty cold game. 10, 12 years ago, back in 2009, 2010, something like that. And he has a tip for Josh Allen, and it really caught the crew there at Get Up on ESPN this morning off guard, and it was trending. And I'm going to play this soundbite. This is funny. This is from their podcast here.
Suggestion for him? Josh Allen listening? Can people get this message to him? Viagra. Take some Viagra for the game, baby. That'll fit that circulation going right.
I don't know how to move off of that.
I don't have any medical background, so I don't really have a response to that. But you play, so you must know something.
A lot of us take Viagra, right? Because Viagra opens up the blood vessels.
A lot of us take Viagra. What do you mean?
A lot of NFL players, at least in my day, took Viagra because it opens up the blood vessels. A lot of endurance athletes, because Viagra was first a heart medicine, right? So it builds up circulation, which makes sure that it gets the circulation to the feet.
Okay.
These statements.
So he's talking about circulation to the feet, the use of Viagra. Why it's so funny? What made Bart Scott say use Viagra? Talking about so Josh Allen can take it to keep him warm. There's been a lot of talk about Viagra helping people with COVID, because COVID attacks your bloodstream and it lowers your blood flow. And Viagra opens your blood flow. Now, he says that they used to take it a lot back in his, back in your day, Bart Scott, was 2009, 2010 era. Apparently, it's not on the NFL ban list. So that is something interesting for somebody to ask the commissioner, is Viagra on the ban list? Because a lot of performance-enhancing drugs are on the ban list. Plus, there's supplements and certain supplements that are on the ban list. So that's something interesting to bring up in the NFL meeting, something like that. He was joking, but he was also for real. He said, well, we take it back in my day to help us in the cold games, open up the blood vessels and everything, because he played up there with the Jets. You're playing the Patriots all the time. It's really, really cold up there. But if I'm Josh Allen, I don't know. I might talk to a trainer about it. I might talk to my doctor and see what it is. I don't think he needs to go that far, though, because I just think they're a better team. Buffalo's a better team. Buffalo, once they figured out Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator, once they figured out to get Devin Singletary the ball on the flat, and the second time they played the Patriots, they finally just said, we're going to have to do what we have to do. We're going to have to run some read option like I said they should do in the first game that they lost at in Buffalo when they had the windstorm on Monday night. They didn't do that. They was just drop back and drop back. Now that he's running, I want to say Allen ran for about 64 yards in that last game at New England, where they won 33 to what was that, like 33 to 20 or something like that. And 33-21. He had 3 touchdowns. He ran for 64 yards, 39 yards rushing for Devin Singletary, but he also caught 4 passes for 39 yards as well. Cole Beasley and Gabriel Davis had COVID issues in that game, and Ian McKenzie Pickles had about 12 catches in there from the slot position. Buffalo ends up winning. Buffalo's a better team, and Bill Belichick knows about that. He said he's not worried about the way, he's worried about the Bills. He's really worried about one guy, Josh Allen. They just can't stop him. So, since they lost that, going back to the Bills, since Buffalo lost that game on Monday night, Allen's played like a man possessed. The defense has played better, even though they've lost Tre'Davious White, their best cornerback. The Bills, they went down to Tampa. They came back 21 points down to tie the game. They did lose that game. It was kind of busted coverage there at the very end. 42 fantasy points for Josh Allen. He was playing like a man, totally possessed in that game, and they haven't looked back. I think the Bills play well. Maybe Allen was overstating the whole cold thing. I don't really buy too much into that. As long as there's no win, I think he's going to be fine. He's just going to be running the ball a lot himself, and they're going to dump it down to Singletary. I think it's probably it is kind of cold. It might not be that much scoring. I wrote down 38-16. This is probably a 31 to 17, maybe 31-23 type of game here. Bills, I see them winning this game. The Bills are going to move on. Patriots had a good year, considering the fact they've had a rookie quarterback. I think offensive rookie of the year will probably still end up going to Mac Jones, but I think the Bills roll and move on from this game. If it was a very windy weather game, this is cold, but it's Buffalo in January. Go figure, right? Then I may think, well, I don't know, Damian Harris, they're susceptible to the power running game. Maybe they could do something, but I just don't think that they can stop Allen, pending Allen getting injured. The other game was cold last year in the play. When they played Baltimore, that game was windy and cold, and they had no running game. And they end up winning that game as well due to the big plays by Allen. He's just going to run the ball and just take the game by storm himself. Okay, Arizona at the Rams. Now, the Rams, people talking about Matt Stafford this and Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford is claimed to have a lot of injuries right now. Now he's claiming, he's claimed to have, before Sunday's game against the 49ers, he's claimed to have elbow injuries, ankle injury, and now additional to that, he's got a toe injury. So now that is going to, he leads the league in interceptions. He's tied with Trevor Lawrence with 17. They're playing Arizona. Arizona plays better on the road. They're 8-1 on the road. The rest of their losses are at home because they don't really have a home field advantage. And neither does the Rams. The Rams had more 49er fans last week than they had Ram fans. And then you're hearing about this toe injury with Matt Stafford's other injuries. You know, they did win at Arizona 30-23 in the last game, but they lost the one before that at home. It was a 17-point game. It was 37-20. Now, I don't think Arizona's that good offensively now because they don't have DeAndre Hopkins. But it looks like they got James Conner back, you know. And I don't know. I think the road team wins it. I think Arizona wins this one. Those are my two upsets. Arizona beats the Rams, and the 49ers beat the Cowboys. Could be wrong on both of them. You know, the Rams have a lot of talent, man. I mean, they did lose one of their safeties and signed Eric Waddle to take in for, I think this guy's name was Jupiter. Somebody wasn't a star. But, again, I told you guys, the Rams are a very top-heavy team, and they're susceptible to physicality, and they have a quarterback who's banged up. It doesn't mind throwing the ball to the other team, you know? And this other game, now Tampa and Philadelphia, this is the game that could get delayed. As of right now, it looks like it could get delayed. I mean, if there's thunderstorms, they're going to delay the game. It's at 1 o'clock Central Time. It's the first game on Sunday. And it was 28-22 Philadelphia when it was at Philadelphia. The Bucs won that game. But I'll say this. Since that game, the Eagles are now the number one rushing team in the NFL. The Bucs have injuries on defense. They're supposed to have Leonard Fournette back, which is huge. Huge. He had 88 yards and 2 touchdowns against this Eagles team last time. But the Eagles are 10th against the run now, and they're the number one rushing team. You know, Jalen Hurts is coming off a bye week, and he practiced fully all week this week. He could have a really good fantasy day in this particular game. He had three touchdowns against Philadelphia, or against this team last time they played. They played in like week 6, short week at Philadelphia. They're still getting a feel for what they're trying to do. I think this is going to be a much more interesting game than the Tampa Bay Buck fans want it to be. Ultimately, I mean, you got to take Brady and you got to take Bruce Arians over Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, a second-year player and a rookie head coach. Don't get me wrong. But they know that they're a second-year head coach and a rookie head coach and a second-year player. So they're going to play free, if you ask me, even though it is down in town. I think they're going to play wide open. They're going to rush the ball a lot. I think Jalen Hurts is probably going to run 50, 75 yards in this game. And this game is going to be uncomfortable for Buck fans. And I think it probably stays probably around the same score within that. It's an 8.5-point spread for Buck. Now, I'll say this. Now, if they get too relaxed and too familiar and Hurts goes in there and throws interceptions and they drop the ball earlier, yeah, the Bucs can get the ball up and roll early. Don't get me wrong. They can get up on them and roll. But if I'm Arians and I'm telling Brady, just check down to the run as much as you can because we can run the ball on these guys, even though they're like 10th against the run. They gave up some big running games before in the past. And Fournette with that 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, that was on a short week at Philadelphia. Now, he's coming off of a IR type of situation. This team is coming to Tampa. Teams typically run the ball better at home. Now, of course, a Greg Ottman, he says that Fournette looks fine. And he's a guy that covers the team for the Athletic. I think he's probably going to have a good game. If he don't, Keyshawn Vaughn is playing really well. Number 21, I can see him going in there, having a good game. Top 5 offensive line in the league there with Tampa. yeah, Jason Pierre-Paul may not play. He's supposed to be back. Sherman got hurt again. They put him back on IR. So they're suspect in the secondary. This team was pushed to overtime. They have some problems with these mobile quarterbacks. We saw what Josh Allen did to them. You know, you get a good mobile quarterback that's decisive. But if it's me, if I'm the Eagles, I do a lot of these lateral running games that they do, that they're really good at. And you want to shorten the game up. Hurts coming off of essentially a bye week, and some of the running backs, I think Jordan Howard's going to be back, and there's a chance that Miles Sanders may play. So this is going to be an interesting game. They're not, well, they got Devontae Smith and Dallas go dirt. It could be something interesting there. I think they will throw deep because they're probably going to make the Tampa play the line of scrimmage, and you're going to have some big plays there. It just depends on how good the game plan is. The fact that was 22-16, that's a pretty close game last time, and this team has gotten a lot better. But again, with turnovers, veteran coach, veteran quarterback, really smart. I can see Brady getting around your Darius Slays of the world and their pass rush and manipulating that defense. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure who he's going to be throwing the ball to because it seems like every week there's another injury there that I'm not sure who's going to be back on. What I know that's going to be back there, I know they got Evans, and his Slay's going to be all over him. It's probably going to be a lot of Gronkowski and a unknown wide receiver. I have to look and study that. Who's going to be the other? Last time it was Antonio Brown. Well, he's no longer with the team. He had the big game last game. And last but not least, Pittsburgh, they're playing against Kansas City. Juju Smith-Schuster's supposed to be back, and Ben Roethlisberger's talking about, well, you know, we're the big underdogs. Let's go out and have fun and all this stuff. And last game was 36-10. I do think that Pittsburgh may make this a little closer, playing with some pride because they got blown out so bad last game. But I think it may be 36-20 now instead of 36-10. Bad offensive line, can't get the ball deep, and they have problems stopping a run with Pittsburgh. Very lucky to be here. This game will be in Kansas City. But I do think Kansas City wins. So just do a quick recap. From start to finish, Cincinnati will play at home against the Raiders. I think the Raiders' run comes to the end. I think Cincinnati, if they play just a little bit of smart football, run the ball with Joe Mixon, they're going to be fine, and they're going to cruise past. Same thing with Buffalo, played it later on that night in the cold there. I think they're going to be fine. Noon Central Time. Philadelphia will make it interesting because they got a lot of fresh legs there. But ultimately, I do think Tampa is going to win that game. And I do think, now it could go the other way, but I do think the 49ers upset Dallas. If Dallas plays smart, they can obviously win that game and don't give up on the run. They can definitely win that game. But I think 49ers upset them. And of course, Arizona upsetting. I just don't know about Stafford. Every week it's a new injury for Stafford. And when you turn the football over in the playoffs, Arizona's another team, really young quarterback, not a lot to lose. 8-1 on the road. I can see Arizona knocking them out, which will set up some really good games next week, Pickles, in the divisional round. You guys see my scroll going across the screen here. Don't really have to broadcast that. If you like the show, share the show. You see the information at the bottom of the screen here to contribute to the program, so I don't have to keep announcing it over and over and over again. Now, Sunday, I'll be on the Mac and Jack show, 7:30 a.m. Central Time on the Mac Sports Facebook page. You can see me on Northeast Streaming Sports YouTube. There's no telling what we'll be talking about. And if you don't see me there, definitely be back here on SportsSkope around 9 p.m. Central Time Tuesday. Looking forward to breaking down those games, and we'll talk a little bit more about these coaching hires and who may be a good who may be a good candidate here or there. But if you fired your GM and your coach, hire your GM first. Don't put the cart before the horse. You know. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you there, Pickles. I'll put that on the screen. Thank you, podcast.